What is good, guys? So today we are doing a backtesting session. This is a highly requested video. A lot of you guys have been asking me to go more in depth into the way that I trade and do a live backtesting model so you can see sort of my thought process in live time and the trades that I would be taking. So I'm not going to do too many cuts on this video. It's going to be very raw, as obviously I want you guys to see that I'm doing it live and that I'm not editing it and, you know, going back and having a look at how the trades are doing and then taking them. I want it to be live so it is raw and authentic and you guys know that it is legit. But as well as this, I'm going to show you guys my journal over the last 3 months. So this is June. We had a 100% win rate in June, which is insane. My trading in the last 3 months has been probably the best it's ever been, and I've taken the most amount of payouts I have ever taken. So we had a 100% win rate in that month. This next month was a little bit slower. We still ended the month up 3.2R, but we did take 2 losses and there were a lot of no trade days. I've just found that I've been a lot stricter on the trades that I'm taking recently, which has resulted in less trades, but a lot less losses. So, you know, I say I have an 100% win rate here. It's not like I'm taking trades every single day, but it still is a really good result. And it should have actually been a little bit more because there were 1 or 2 other days where I was away and stuff like that, where there were actually wins to take and not losses. So it is what it is, but we are currently at an 100% win rate for August. We are only up 4.4R, which is actually a really good return. You know, if you can do 4 to 5% per month, you're probably going to do about 60% return in a year. And, you know, people think that people chase like 10R a week, 10% a week, which is just not achievable. And if it is achievable, it's not achievable over the long term. Imagine you had £1 million in a trading account and you made 60% a year, you'd make 600 grand a year, you know? So you need to chase more capital, not more percent, more RR. Just flick through some of my dashboards as well to show you guys some of the payouts that I've been taking recently. Alpha Futures, I have a massive amount of payouts with them as well. I have another page as well that I'll show you here. So I've got about 30,000 with each of these 2 prop firms. Obviously I've got payouts with other prop firms as well, but these are 2 of the big ones. But let's get into the back testing and there are going to be no edits now. So let's get straight into it. So I'm going to go over my bias every single day, talk about sort of my thought process coming into the market, what I want to see, and then we're going to take some trades hopefully, and hopefully have a green month. I will still post this if it's not the best month, because that's the reality of trading. Not every single month is going to be not every month is going to be at a 100% win rate. Some are going to have a 50% win rate, some are going to have an 80% win rate. But obviously I have had some 100% win rate months this month, but obviously that is not the norm. That is not what I do every single month. So yeah, I'll probably do this for about 45 minutes to an hour and I'll just end it wherever we're at there. Hopefully we can get through maybe half a month or so, maybe a little bit more, but we will just see where we're at. So coming into this day straight away, I can see we have some built up hourly liquidity. We have all these lows that are just failing to take out the next. When we look on the lower time frames here, it's a little bit steep to call it LRLR, but we do have these stacked lows on the 15-minute time frame. When we look on the hourly, we have swept a high inside of a fair value gap, making this high here that swept it a protected high. We have a 15-minute high and a fair value gap. So every single session, I find my bias and I'll mark out the highs and lows that I'll be looking to take a trade off of. So this 15-minute high could be a good target or a good area to take a trade off of. We also have these 4-hour lows that are also in a fair value gap. All the trades that I take have to be from a low or high resting inside of a fair value gap. So obviously this is resting inside of this fair value gap to the left. So that could be a potential area for a reversal to the upside. We have tapped into a 4-hour gap here. So we may want to come down to this 15-minute stack liquidity. So if I had to pick on this day, I'm definitely bearish. We have a 15-minute here that we've inversed to the downside. We swept an hourly high in a fair value gap. We have a lot more liquidity, like low resistant to the downside. So 100% this is looking a lot more bearish. So if we can come down and potentially take some of this, this would be really good. So in my Discord, I know a lot of you guys see that I get my bias right a lot of the time. You're not going to get it right every day. And that doesn't mean that you're going to take a loss though. That's not what that means. So we may not get a trade, we may get a trade, but I am bearish on this day. We do have this hourly high as well that I forgot to mark out. So although this high is a protected high, this is still a high in a fair value gap. Sorry, this is still a high in a fair value gap. So this is not good to target. You don't want to target protected highs with your take profit. But if we sweep a protected high or low, I'm still happy to take a trade off of it. As I said, it's just you don't really want to target it with a take profit. So yeah, let's see how this day plays out and see if we can get any trades. For me to take a long, to be honest, today, I'd have to see us come all the way down to this 4-hour low. Apart from that, like, we're just going to be in the middle of all this LRLR if we haven't yet taken that. So we will see. Okay, so we just swept that hourly high on a fair value gap. I just skipped too far ahead by accident. There's a potential trade here. So we swept a high and a fair value gap plus a 1 minute. I've accidentally skipped too far ahead. It would be invalid anyway, actually, because I always aim to take the highest time frame inverse, and here we've just tapped into the 2 minute and we've just tapped into the 3 minute, so it'd be invalid anyway. But this 1 minute short is the type of trade I love to take. So we're sweeping that hourly high in a fair value gap whilst respecting the fair value gap. That's a key part of this. We still have enough time to be able to sweep it and respect the fair value gap that it's inside of. So the hourly doesn't close for another 14 minutes. I think my face is just in the way of the timer in the bottom right there, but we still have 14 minutes until that close. So 100% this is a trade I would look to take, but it is invalid as we have tapped into higher time frame fair value gaps. So let's see what we do, see if we can get a possible higher time frame entry maybe on the 5 minute or the 3 minute. We'll have a look. So it does look like we're just sort of trending towards maybe this 15 minute high in a fair value gap. I was just about to say, so when we have a good draw on liquidity above, you can look for a lower time frame sweep. So this is the part of my model that is quite hard to teach. It is quite discretionary, but when we have when we have a good draw on liquidity above, so we have a 15 minute high in a fair value gap, if we come down and see like a 1 to 5 minute low in a fair value gap, you could have then looked for an IFEG back to the upside. Obviously on this day I wouldn't, as I'm more bearish on the day, so you need a good draw on liquidity. It needs to be in line with your bias as well, and then you can look for that lower time frame trade. So let's say I was bullish on the day, we got a better close maybe, and we came down and swept this low. That is a trade I would potentially look to take, but obviously in this scenario I'm not. We probably will hit that 15 minute high, but still. So we could potentially look for a short off of this if we do get one. Potential fair value gap here, but it doesn't look like we're going to get anything. I don't want to see us come too much further past this high. Like we have come a fair bit past. I want to see that reaction quite quickly whilst we're still in this 15 minute fair value gap. Yeah, we're just coming a bit too far away for me now. We do have a 1 minute here, but we've gone too far past the high in my opinion. Like you want it to be a fairly instant reaction. This is too far past it. And yeah, it is playing out, but it's just, I would not take this in lifetime. We do have all these stacked lows, like each one's failing to take out the next. So high resistance stop loss, low resistance below. So it still probably has over a 50% win rate, but it's just not A+. It's not something I would take. It's too far past it. So although that's not a bad trade, yeah, gonna probably just move on to the next day and fade this day. So I'm just gonna skip at the top here to the next day, 9:30. Yeah, so this is open. So when we look now on the 4 hour, I think it's a fairly similar scenario to yesterday. Yeah, so we never actually came down and swept all this. So we have all this hourly LRLR here. This looks very, very obvious to get ran. We have an hourly IFEG maybe. I think we haven't quite inversed it, but I mean, I'd be happy to front run that that's going to inverse and assume it's going to inverse, because just look at this. Like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 hourly lows there that are stacked that I'd assume that we're going to come down to. So yeah, very bearish again on this day. Very similar scenario to yesterday. So we could come up and maybe sweep this hourly high inside of a fair value gap. We also have another hourly high and a fair value gap here. So this is what I do. I find my bias, mark out my highs or lows, highs and lows if I'm neutral on the day. But where I'm bearish, I'm really going to mark out the highs, because this is what I want to see us come up to and take a trade down towards this LRLR. So yeah, these are probably the only highs that are in a good distance to maybe take a trade off of. I always look from the 15 minute, 30 minute, 1 hour and 4 hour. Those are the time frames I'm looking on for, mainly the 1 hour and 4 hour for my bias, and sometimes the daily. But when I'm marking out like highs and lows and fair value gaps, this is usually on those time frames. So I'm going to mark at the start of that LRLR there, so that I know when we're sort of starting to run it. Apart from that, we do have a 15 minute high and a fair value gap. So I haven't marked that out very well. We do have a 15 minute just here. We are respecting, so this is still in a fair value gap, because as you can see, we didn't inverse it to the upside. But like I said, you just have to make sure that when we're coming up to sweep it, we have enough time. Bear in mind, this is the 15 minute time frame. So you don't want us to have like 2 minutes left of the 15 minute close and be inversing this to the upside. But that is a potential trade there. I would maybe be happy to look on the 5 minute for a short, just because the drawn liquidity below is so obvious, but there's not really much to go off on the 5 minutes. So we'll stick to that and see if we can get a trade. Hopefully we can come down. I am happy to take a lower time frame sweep like I talked about earlier, just because this liquidity is so obvious. So on the 1 to 5 minute, we have actually swept a 3 minute high and a fair value gap here, whilst tapping into a 5 minute gap and filling a 15 minute gap. So this could be super clean. So it's not often I would take a trade off of a lower time frame high in a fair value gap or low in a fair value gap. It's only when we have a clear bias, clear drawn liquidity. And I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree that this drawn liquidity today is very, very obvious, and the bias is very, very obvious too. So we have a Judas swing off of open there. If you don't know what a Judas swing is, it's basically where off of open, the 930 open, which we've just had just before here, we basically come up in one direction and then see a reversal to the opposite direction, or we come down to then see a reversal to the upside. So this looks really clean to me, unless there's like a 2 minute. No, so the 1 minute is the highest time frame. This looks really, really clean to work. I would have my stop loss at the wicks here. I mean, no, I'd have it at the bodies here, because so you either have your stop loss at the wicks or the bodies. So I always have it at the wicks, because when we sweep a high resting inside of a fair value gap, we make a protected high, which is a really good area. Like this should not be revisited, and that is one of the key concepts. If you can learn just having a high resistant stop loss and targeting low resistant, like we are here on the hourly, have all these stacked lows. This is the one concept that I think will genuinely change your trading, and that's what changed my trading. So, but in this scenario, so the only scenario that I will have my stop loss at the bodies is, let's say this inversed in 2 candles and we made a fair value gap here to then rebalance into and then continue prices lower. That's when I'd have it at the bodies, because we have a fair value gap, we have enough room to respect it. I'm very, very unlikely to hit your stop loss there at the bodies and then continue lower. But in this scenario, with that displacement, a lot of the time on Judas swings as well, I will have it at the bodies, just because that displacement off of the 930 candle, like the volatility when we've just opened is so high that I would not expect your stop loss to get hit. But as well as that, you can kind of assume that we're going to make a fair value gap here because of that displacement to the downside. It's very unlikely that this next candle is going to be so bullish that it completely swallows up that candle and doesn't leave a fair value gap. So in this scenario, I will have it at the bodies. I'm just going to enter the trade with 1 mini. I'm not going to calculate all the risk and stuff like that on backtesting, but I will just write down or mentally note sort of what RR we hit and stuff like that. So we do have all this LRLR. So I have a high win rate, low RR model. So if I was to target the very bottom of the LRLR, although I do think it all should get round, we're targeting a 3.3R. So obviously I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just, in this scenario, the start of the LRLR is this 15-minute low here. So I'm just going to target that with my take profit for just over a 1-to-1. Break even will be at this swing low here. So that's when I'll move my stop loss and cover my risk. And yeah, so 1.07, so just over a 1-to-1. We will sell there. Okay, it probably is just a 1-to-1 actually, 1.3-to-1, there you go. So we'll put our stop loss at the bodies here. This is how I'd manage it in live time as well. So we'd have our take profit at that low. So we're going for $550 and we're risking 535. So let's see how it plays out. Right, so I don't need a candle close below that low. We have swept it, so I'm going to move my stop loss to break even here, like so. And we'll see this. I don't really like that reaction. We may get break even before we run here. Maybe not. Bang. What a start. Wow. Is this the first day or is this the second? Yeah, I think we've done 2 days. Wow, really good start. So as I say, I would probably expect that you could have hit a 3R on this. If it lets me grab this, you probably could hit a 3R on this, but it's just, I have a high win rate model. Yeah, you're going to hit a 3R. Maybe not. Okay. I mean, you could have hit a 3R, but I mean, if you were targeting that low, hopefully you would have trailed, to be fair. But yeah, you could have hit more RR than me there, but you know, it's a high win rate model. You just want to get your base hits, have a high win rate. Your psychology will be better. Just, you'll benefit in so many ways, especially on prop firms. Just securing that money, you will benefit massively from. So yeah, really nice win that day. Let's go to the next day. We actually haven't swept this, so that's a bit weird. I would have expected that we swept all of that, but either way, we caught a nice win in there. And yeah, correct bias, correct drawn liquidity, and took a good trade. So yeah, let's go to the next day. So let's look at our bias for this day. Okay, so we actually left those 4-hour equal lows. We never came down and swept it, which is surprising. We do also have this LRLR on the 4-hour over here, quite far away as a target, but just something I've just noticed for maybe another day. So yeah, I think I'm still going to be bearish. I'm still going to be leaning bearish because here, so we've had a high and a fair value gap swept there. This was actually one of the areas we had marked for that session, which is cool to see how this is the high we had marked out in an hourly fair value gap. We had these two highs, and you can see we swept it, respected the fair value gap, and then dumped to the downside. So I mean, there was probably another trade to take that day later on in the day, which would have been super clean. I'm not going to go back and look at it, but you get the gist. So we do then have that hourly protected high. Probably wouldn't expect us to trade back above this, but if we do, it's still valid to take a short off of. We have some more stacked hourly lows as well as those 4-hour equal lows, like relative equal lows, sorry. Relative equal lows is just where we haven't got dead on equal lows, they're just very near to each other. So yeah, really clean. I think, again, I'm bearish on the day. We've kind of inversed all the fair value gaps to the downside. We inverse that small 4-hour that's just here. Yeah, I'm going to be more bearish on this day as well. So hopefully we can come up to maybe come down. But yeah, we'll see what we do. It looks like we have some news here at 9:45 and 10, so we'll just keep an eye out for that. Yeah, we'll just keep an eye out. So we're coming very close to that hourly high in a fair value. Okay, so we swept an hourly high in a fair value gap. Okay, so almost had a potential trade there. No entry, but yeah, almost. It could have been really clean. We tapped into that 5-minute as well. So you could have actually taken this 2-minute. I was only looking at the 1-minute. This would have actually been quite valid. I did miss that. But the thing is, oh no, it wouldn't have been valid, sorry, because so my break even on this trade would have been when we tap into the higher time frame fair value gaps, which is the 5-minute. But obviously this 2-minute here on the close had already tapped into the 5-minute. So that would have been an invalid trade either way. But yeah, that's a good scenario. I would have looked to take a trade there. We may want to just continue up to this higher hourly high then, which is surprising. I did think we were going to come for those 4-hour equal lows, relative equal lows, whatever. But yeah, we'll see what we do then. Wow, that's really, really clean. Again, we sweep an hourly high inside of a fair value gap, which is also a 4-hour high in a fair value gap, respecting the fair value gap, and we also have yeah, it's a big fair value gap. We're gonna respect that. So, wow, this looks really, really clean. Is there anything wrong with this? So if we check the 2-minute, we are about to open a 2-minute frustratingly. So as soon as we enter this trade, we're going to be making a fair value gap here. So this isn't going to be good to take, which is really, really unfortunate. Otherwise, this does look really good, but yeah, I'm not going to take this because, yeah, look, you can see there we've just tapped into that 2-minute. And, you know, you're taking an IFEG, you're taking a trade based off a liquidity sweep in a fair value gap, yes, but you've waited for this IFEG. So you waited for this fair value gap to inverse. So what's to say that this next fair value gap is going to inverse? You should always be break even at the next fair value gap and making sure you're taking the highest time frame inversion, and you would have got stopped out. So I mean, it would have been a break even, I suppose, but the break even's so tight that it's just not even worth taking. That is just way too tight. So yeah, this is going to be a no trade day. I don't like when we sweep a high in a fair value gap. So obviously we just swept a high in a fair value gap. We've now left an hourly high here, but you don't want to see us just keep re-sweeping the highs. You want it to be an instant reaction off that high. Those are the best trades. So we will go to the next day. So what is happening on this day? Well, we have had some legs up. We have had some big legs up. Wow. Okay, so we just left those equal lows there. So on this day, we have an hourly low inside of a fair value gap. We have another hourly low inside of fair value gap because it hasn't actually inversed this to the downside. On the 4-hour, that's also a 4-hour low and a fair value gap. We do have a 4-hour high up here. We have not yet inversed all the 4-hour gaps. We are still holding this. So It's looking like a pretty neutral day because there's not much confirmation. We're kind of just inside of fair value gaps either side right now. So yeah, I'm probably going to be more neutral on this day. We'll just mark out our highs and our lows and see where we're at. Yeah, it's going to be more of a neutral day. So we'll either look for a short off of that, maybe a long off of this low, sorry, or maybe a short off of this 4-hour high here. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I can't see anything too A+. It does look fairly neutral. So we'll see how it plays out. We do have some news at 10:30 there, but we won't worry about that yet. So we just swept this 4-hour high at the top of the range. I'm not sure if this is in a fair value gap or not. Okay, this does look really clean actually, I think, unless we already swept that. So we have a 4-hour high in this fair value gap over here, which we just came up and we swept that as well as sweeping this 4-hour high of this range here. So if we can see a reaction to the downside here, that could be very clean. I feel like we're going to tap into a leg of fair value gaps. So we're in a 2-minute here, in a 3-minute. 3-minute looks really clean. Is that closed? I think that's closed there. This looks really clean. Break even at this 5-minute. So this is something I want to talk about actually. Like, although we are still inside of a 2-minute gap here, I think we have 1 minute left on the close. The higher time frame is the 3-minute. So I always preach wait for the highest time frame inverse. When we, like if we're in a 1 minute fair value gap and you're taking a 5-minute trade, you don't need to worry about the 1 minute. If we're in a 3-minute, you don't really need to worry about the 2-minute. The higher time frame holds higher power. So you're fine to take the higher time frame trade. So this 3-minute looks really good to me. I can't imagine that we're gonna make, there's a possibility we wouldn't make a fair value gap on the way up here because it's a 3-minute trade. We could easily close this gap, meaning that I'm gonna have my stop loss at the protected high. You could just target a 1-to-1 on this, or maybe the low of this sort of range. Thing is, I quite like the low of this range because there's not too many like speed bumps. There's not too many fair, there is a 2-minute fair value gap actually. And there is that 5-minute that's my break even. I forgot about that. So yeah, this is situational. I think I'm going to go for the bottom of this range here as it is only a 1.6. I don't really like to go over a 2R, but if there's sort of nice liquidity at around a 1.5, I will usually target that. Yeah, I think this looks really clean. We'll see. Maybe a 1-to-1 will get hit and then we'll get break even. We'll see. But yeah, so break even for me would be this. Actually, I'm going to have break even at this 3-minute gap. It is quite tight, but it's a 3-minute trade. So, you know, like I said earlier, this 3-minute gap, there's nothing to say that this will inverse and then this next one will. So we'll take it with our break even at that 3-minute. I didn't see that because I was looking at the 5-minute. In live time, obviously, I've got all this set up a lot quicker, but where I'm backtesting with you guys, it is tougher to get it all get it all ready. Sorry, I've got a really bad cough at the moment. So yeah, obviously I'm risking 1,170 here. I've just gone in with 1 minute. We'll just pretend it's 1R. I'm not going to worry about the actual P&L for this session. Otherwise I'll have to go on MNQ and XQ and stuff like that, so we won't do that. So break even is going to be as soon as we hit that 3-minute low. TP is going to be at this swing low here, so we will see how we do. Maybe should just go for a 1-to-1, but I quite like the drawn liquidity and I think it is very achievable. So yeah, we'll see. So we haven't quite hit break even there. Wow, really good flush through. So we'll move break even just there. Stop loss is now at break even. Hopefully we can inverse this 3-minute gap, and then to be honest, I can't see us getting break even. Yeah, this should hit TP now. I think we probably inverse the 5-minute as well. We got 1 more minute on the 5. Yeah, this should hit TP. Bang, bang. So another 1.6R. So that's 2.6R. I think that we're up on the month, which is really good. I would usually edit out this coffee and stuff, but obviously I'm trying to do it live for you guys so you can see that this is actually a really good model that you guys can easily implement. So yeah, absolute banger. So we're up 2.6R on the month and we are 6 days in. really, really good. So let's go to the next day and see what we get. If you've made it this far in the video, then I'm sure you can see how good this strategy actually is, and how if you can implement it yourself, there is no reason that you can't be making consistent money trading. Now, I do have a mentorship where I teach others to trade exactly the same way that I am, and it is such a systematic model that if I've taken a trade in a day, you will know I'm in a trade and you will likely take exactly the same trade. The link is in the description. All you have to do is go down to this apply area, put in your name, phone number and email, and we will contact you. You can also book a time for a call. Make sure it's a time that you're actually going to turn up. You may be wondering what is included in the mentorship. So every single day we do a pre-market call going over daily bias, drawn liquidities for the day, and even areas that we're likely to see a reversal. So I'll mark out highs and lows inside the fair value gaps that I will be looking to take a trade off of, so you guys are not in the dark. You know when I'm going to be in a trade, and likely you can take exactly the same trade. As well as that, I record a call after the market every single day where we go over if there was a trade, why it was taken, and what sort of the confluences were, and if there were no trades, then why that was too, because it's good to go over both scenarios. We also do a weekly live call, so this will be some sort of education, whether that's live backtesting, whether that's going over daily bias for a number of days, or whether that's just education in general. This is once a week. You also get my personal WhatsApp number, so you can send me your trades, you can talk to me about psychology, and we can go over anything that you guys want. Now, there's a number of different packages, and I guarantee you it's probably not as expensive as you think it is, so book a call and just look at these packages and find out which one works for your personal situation. There's also one-on-one calls where we can tailor it to you and go in depth into issues that you are specifically having. As well as that, I am giving away 1 month free access to one person, so I'll also leave this link in the description. It will be the giveaway link. All you have to do is put in your details and tell me a bit about why I should pick you as the winner. So on the next day, we're just looking very bullish now. Very bullish. This isn't all-time highs, is it? I think we might be at all-time highs here, to be honest. Yeah, I think we've just come up to all-time highs over this past day. We've just flown up. So when we're at all-time highs, I am bullish. Like I don't like taking shorts when we're at all-time highs. My general sort of rule of thumb is when we're in 250 to 300 points of all-time highs, probably 2 to 250. I don't like taking shorts. It's kind of long until proven wrong when you're at all-time highs. So I will just be looking for longs. My bias is automatically bullish when we're at all-time highs like we are here. So let's mark out our lows and fair value gaps and see if we can get a trade. So if we go on the 15 minute, we do have a low and a fair value gap here. Let me just change this. Low and a fair value gap here, because it is still inside of this fair value gap. We haven't actually inversed it to the downside, so that is valid. What else do we have? We kind of have like stacked lows here, like LRLR on the 15 minute, but it's just when you're at all-time highs, you can't be shorting. You cannot be shorting. On the hourly, we don't have much to go off. On the 4 hour, we don't have much to go off. This is already looking like it's going to be a very slow day. There's basically one target of mine that I would look to take a trade off of, and it's not even the cleanest target, to be honest. So we'll see. I'll go through this quite quickly because I can already see that this is probably a no trade day. Obviously, I'm not looking to short when we're all-time highs either. So, and we're just flying up. Yeah, so this is going to be a no trade day for me, unless we can see like a lower time frame sweep, maybe back up to all-time highs. That's the only scenario I can kind of see. Apart from that, it's probably going to be a no trade day. Yeah, price action is looking pretty choppy as well. This was a decent scenario. I mean, we have this low here, maybe in a fair value gap on another time frame. On the 2 minute, looks really clean. Yeah, the 2 minute really tapping a 5 minute at the same time. But the thing is, it's just so high in premium. Like we've pumped up so much this session from back here. We haven't retraced to sort of equilibrium. I would rather see us come down further into this range, maybe sweep some of these lows. Yes, this probably will play out, but I don't know. It's not the cleanest. And as well as that, the IFEG close was so high. I would need the IFEG to close maybe somewhere down here. It's closed way too high, too near to our break-even point up there. No, my break-even point would be these highs, to be honest. So yeah, just invalid, not the cleanest trade. Like it's the right sort of scenario. You're looking at the right sort of thing, but we'll go to the next day. I don't think anything there is super clean. So what day is this? The 8th. Let's see what we can get. On the 4 hour, we are looking like we're still at all-time highs. So we are bullish. How near are we to all-time highs? We are, yeah, 70 points from all-time highs. So I'm going to be bullish. We have an hourly low in a fair value gap here. I doubt we're going to have much else because we've pumped up. We do have a nice 30-minute actually. That looks really clean. Yeah, okay, so those are the main two targets to take a trade off of. We have some news coming out at 10 a.m. and we have some at 11. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. So hopefully we can come down to come up, which it isn't looking like we're doing. See if we can come down. It's not looking like it. These all-time highs conditions, a lot of the time we just pump up. We are just kind of consolidating here. The price action is really, really slow. Yeah, we're literally just stuck in a range here, not coming down to any of our lows. So that's fine. We'll skip to the next day. It is past 4 o'clock. I'll never take a trade past 4 o'clock or 11 a.m. New York time. I'm happy to hold a trade through that if we sort of have like a trade you get before the end of the session, and maybe it's like a 5-minute trade and you're going to hold it through. That's fine as long as the narrative is still correct and the trade still makes sense, but I would never take a trade after 4. I find it does get a bit slow. So let's see what we've got. On the 4 hour, we are still at all-time highs. Shock. So 4 hour. On the 1 hour, let's mark out our lows. Okay, so here, this could be clean. We have a 1 hour. We also have what looks like, is this a Monday? Yeah, new week opening gap below. So let's go on to the lower time frames. Make sure you're marking out your new week opening gaps and stuff on the 1 or like the 5-minute time frames. When you look on the hourly and stuff and mark it out, you just will never get it to the T. You'll think it's all been filled, but it actually hasn't. So go on the 1-minute time frame, do it properly, and mark out that new week opening gap. So this could be a really good draw on liquidity today. Maybe come down and sweep this low whilst tapping into that. Could be a really nice scenario. But yeah, we'll see. I would be open to short. The only time I'm sort of open to shorts near all-time highs is if we have a really good draw on liquidity like that. We do have a new week opening up below, so you know I'm not completely against shorts, but we'll see. We'll see what we do. Do we have any highs to even go off of though? That's the issue. We do have some like stacked lows there as well. I'm not seeing anything major. We'll see. We'll see what we do off of open. Okay, so we've just come down into that new week opening gap as well as sweeping the low. We seem to just be dumping though. So we filled the whole of it. We've just come too far past that low now for me to take a trade off of. I can't really see many other targets, so it's probably going to be a no trade day, to be honest. I feel like we're just going to continue dumping down to some of this like stacked liquidity we have. Yeah, like you can see, we just have like sort of LRLR here and these lows. So still very bearish for me. That close is very, very bearish as well. And we are, I think, a good amount away from all-time highs now, about 150 points. So maybe happy to take shorts here if we see something clean, but I really can't imagine that we will. But maybe a lower time frame sweep if we come down towards this. What have we come near to? It's that hourly low and a further gap here. Yeah, this could be a really good target if we could see like a lower time frame short. As I said, I don't usually like shorting at all-time highs, but there are scenarios where you can short all-time highs. It's kind of just a general rule of thumb for me not to short when we're sort of within 200 points of all-time highs. But you know, it is just a general rule of thumb. It's not like a set in stone. So we have swept a lower time frame high and a further gap here. Are we tapping any higher time? We've also tapped into a 15-minute gap really nicely and filled like 50% of a 30-minute. This does look really clean. If we can see like maybe a short. We do have a 1-minute short here, which we've just skipped a minute ahead of by accident. We in any? Okay, we're in a 3-minute anyway. This 5-minute looks really clean. So we tapped the 5-minute, swept a lower time frame high and a fair value gap. Oh my God, what's just flown in? Is that, what is that? Ah! Oh my God, I think a Maybug's just flown in. Jesus, that thing's huge. I don't know whether to cut that out or not. Anyway, I don't even know if that came in the camera. Anyway, 5-minute, potential 5-minute here that could be a good trade. Okay, that's the close there actually. This looks really clean. We have all this stacked liquidity when you look on like the 1 minute and stuff. So when I talk about high resistant and low resistant at your stop loss, you want high resistant at your stop loss, sorry, low resistant below. This looks really, really clean. There's no like speed bumps. Yeah, I'm going to take this. I know we're near all-time highs, but it's situational, you know, and we have a really good draw on liquidity below. We're displacing lower. Like, you can't always get so caught up in rules like, oh, we're too near to all-time highs. Like, okay, look at the hourly time frame. Look at the close we've just had. We've closed below every fair value gap, the new week opening gap. Everything is looking extremely bearish here, down to this low. You can't, just because, okay, you're going to get so caught up in a long here because we're near all-time highs that you're just going to get burnt. So sometimes be open to it's not breaking your rules, but, you know, you set rules so that you stick to things. But sometimes you have to just analyze the market and be like, okay, is this good to take? This actually looks like a really good trade, so I'm going to take it. Yeah, really clean. I'm going to take this for sure. So we'll sell, sell on here. I don't know where that's just flown off to. Massive Maybug. I think it was a Maybug. Hopefully it's not like a Hornet or something. So yeah, in this scenario, you could go for a 2-to-1 down to that low, but I think you know, it's a high win rate model. I can see it coming down to here, and then we reverse, hit break even, and then we rebalance and hit that low. So I'm probably gonna, yeah, I'll TP there. My break even, I do want some sort of break even on this trade. I can't see anything insanely good for break even, but we'll use that there because I think on the 1 minute, yeah, that's a 1 minute low in this fair value gap to the left. So I mean, although it's not the strongest point where we could reverse, I honestly would be confident in this trade with no break even. I do like to implement some sort of break even into my trade. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. Really clean though. I know we are near all-time highs, but I'm happy to take a loss on this. Well, maybe not happy to take a loss, but you know what I mean. Accepted taking a loss. So looking like it may be an L. God, this is slow. Maybe not. Maybe get some pushes down. So like we've gone past 4 o'clock now, but like I'm still happy to hold the trade, you know. Okay, break even there. I did think that was going to be a loss, to be honest, but your stop loss is in a protected area. It's a high resistance stop loss. It's a protected high. Be confident in it, you know. You wouldn't have been stopped out at the bodies or the wick there, but the wick makes a lot more sense in this scenario, I think. Can we hit TP, or are we going to reverse off of break even? You're kidding me, aren't you? Bang. Oh my God, this is going so well. That's 3 wins in 11 days. Bang, 1.1 hour. So what are we up? 2.6, 3.7 hour, I think, in 11 days. I average about 4 to 5 hour a month. So, I mean, this is a very good start to the month. I can imagine I can feel a loss maybe creeping up and then maybe another win, that type of thing. But really clean. We probably hit, yeah, we hit that low as well. So you could have got a 2R. And it's one of those, like if you backtest my model, you may see better results for you personally, going for a 2R, a 3R, a 1.5R. But just for me and the prop firm game, how prop firms specifically work, having that lower win rate, having a higher win rate, sorry, lower RR just works for me. So yeah, we'll do a couple more days. I don't want to make this video too long for you guys. If you guys do want more stuff like this, I can do a longer one and do maybe, God, that bug's back, and do maybe like a longer month. But yeah. We will have a look. So is this the next day? Did I skip ahead? Yeah, so we'll do the next day. So on the 4 hour time frame, we are still in a similar area, to be honest. We did come down and sweep that low like we just talked about. What have I just pressed? I think it's just showing us our trades. We have a 4 hour high in a fair value gap over here. We have a 4 hour low in a fair value gap resting below. And yeah, this looks really clean to be a pretty neutral day, in my opinion. We're sort of respecting fair value gap above, respecting a fair value gap below. I mean, the thing is, this area is more protected than this high, because this high is not, okay, actually, I'll eat my words, because we have, what do I keep pressing? Why have I just done that again? Because we do have a, oh, I think I'm pressing this, whoops. Okay, so we do have a high and a fair value gap swept there, making this quite high resistant, and this is also a low that swept out another low in a fair value gap. So 2 quite high resistant areas. The only thing I would say is above we have like LRLR on this 30-minute time frame, whereas below we don't. So I probably would be leaning bullish, because as well as that, we have inversed a 30-minute fair value gap to the upside here. So this is looking like more of a bullish day to me. I wouldn't say that it's the cleanest day either way, but I'd say it is more of a bullish day. So yeah, we'll see what we can get. Hopefully we can get a retracement into maybe a 15-minute or something. If we got any lows to take a trade off of. It's not looking like we do, to be honest. It's looking like either a lower time frame trade or a no trade day. Yeah, this is already looking... I may just even skip this day because, I mean, we'll see how the bias plays out, but there's no... I've clicked it again. There's no lows for me to take a trade off of today. So we'll see quickly how the bias plays out, but genuinely, I would look at this day and probably go into the day saying, I'm not going to take a trade. I can't see anything. Yeah, so we've come up to those highs. Was there a possible entry? No, there's nothing. There's nothing. So we'll skip to the next day. You know, maybe some of you guys could have caught an entry there. There is an IFEG there, but it's just not how I trade. So it is what it is. We'll go to the next day. So we had quite a bearish reaction off of that high there. Okay, we had a very bearish reaction. Okay, again, high in a fair value gap, swept. Massive bearish reaction down to this low. Lows and highs in fair value gaps are one of the strongest draws on liquidity and strongest areas for a reversal that people just don't talk about. It is genuinely what changed my trading. So if you can implement these into either if you're trading my strategy or implement it into your own strategy, your win rate is going to massively improve with these. So we'll do 1 or 2 more days and then we'll probably leave it there. I don't want this to be a really long video, as I said to you guys. So again, I'm going to be more neutral. Again, I'm going to be more neutral on this day because there's nothing to A plus, to be honest. We have a 4-hour high and a fair value gap here. We have a low and a fair value gap down here. So yeah, let's see what we do. I think we're kind of in between drawn liquidities today. This looks like some sort of data high maybe. I'll check on the lower time frames quickly. Not a data high, but we do have a data low just here. So maybe short-term bearish down to that data low. I don't really want to take a long with that at my stop loss, but yeah, overall pretty neutral on the day. So see if we can get a short down to this data low maybe. No, we've just swept it. Have we swept any lows in a fair value gap there? Okay, we did actually sweep a low here. So this was the 15-minute low that we put in just before, that we just put in. This actually looks quite clean. Okay, so we put in a 15-minute low that closed at 9:45. It is 9:51. So then we came below that low after it closed. It closed when we were here, came below it, swept it. And now we've seen a 1-minute IFEG to the upside after also reacting off of the data low from, I think that's CPI. So yeah, really nice. Really, really nice. Yeah, this, I'm going to take this. Oh, actually, let's check. Do we have a 2-minute? Oh, we do have a 2-minute here. And a 3-minute. Okay, so I'm going to take this 1 minute. I'm going to go break even at the 3-minute and hopefully we can get an entry. But again, high resistance stop loss, LRLR at your take profit. Genuinely, that's all you need. That is all you need. Pair IFEGs with a low or high in a fair value gap. High resistant stop loss, low resistant take profit. There you go. You're making 10K a month. That is literally it. It's all about that and then just scaling up your funding and bang, you're sorted. So we'll take this here. I will have it at the bodies because I'd expect that we could make a fair value gap there very easily. So we'll have it there. And I've pressed something again. God, I don't backtest very much because obviously I used to, but I used to use FX replay when I used to backtest when I was learning to trade. So it's all very new to me, very new to me. So about a 1-to-1 there. So yeah, let's see if this plays out. Break even's very tight, but as I said, you either go break even tight or you don't take the trade. So 2 and a 3-minute there is going to be my break even. If we get break even, you could look for a re-entry on that time frame, but for now, okay, so this should have been a break even trade. In live time, obviously I would have moved it to break even there. But obviously I can't do that on TradeZella because it's not live time, it prints per candle. So I'll just, can you go back? I think this goes back. I'm going to go back a candle, and I'm just going to literally get myself out of break even as if I would have on the, there you are. So that's break even trade, is what it is. Potential re-entry on the 2 or the 3 minute maybe is what I'll look for here. Potential 3 minute. No, okay, we've just started selling off. So that's fine. We'll go to the next day and we'll call that a break-even day. I am open to taking another trade after a break-even, but we are just starting to look a little bit choppy for me. And there's not really many other lows I could take a trade off of. There is a 15-minute low here. But I don't know. I don't think it's looking like the cleanest day. Okay, so this actually looks all right, but the thing is, look, you've made hourly equal lows, relative equal lows at your stop loss. Do you then want to take that? No. I mean, we've swept a 15-minute low in a fair value gap. We're respecting the fair value gap. So although this is a high resistance stop loss, you also have a low resistant draw at your stop loss. So it cancels it out. You know, you don't want to take that trade, and maybe it'll play out, maybe it won't, but it's not a good trade to take when you have hourly relative equal lows at your stop loss. So yeah, we'll go to the next day. I'll do one more day and then we'll probably call it there, guys. Let's go over our bias. So on the 4 hour, we look again, 4 hour high in a fair value gap, swept, instant reaction to the downside, targeting some sort of other liquidity. And this is something I wanted to say actually about protected highs and lows. You know, you could have a protected high or a protected low, but this high here is now protected, okay? Because we swept a high in a fair value gap, but it's only protected until it has done its job. And this is the same with SMTs. When it is a protected high, it is then pushed us down to the next drawn liquidity, to the next higher time frame fair value gap, to the next point. It is then no longer really a protected high. It's kind of served its purpose. So people get so hung up on the fact that, oh, this high is protected, but it's from like a week ago and we've had a massive rally up since. So don't always get too focused on that. And I get it. Protected highs and lows are very good to use to not target and to be like, this is not a good trade to take, but don't get too hung up on it. So again, on this day, the bias really hasn't been obvious on a lot of these days. I feel like I've been neutral a lot of days. We made relative equal lows here, so I think I am leaning bearish because this is more high resistant, and like I said, this should now deliver us to the next drawn liquidity, which in my opinion is these relative equal lows. We also inversed a 1 hour gap to the downside. So yeah, definitely bearish. So we'll either look for a short or we'll look for a long off of this once we then come and hit our drawn liquidity that's also inside of a fair value gap. So yeah, let's see what we can do. We have a 5 minute high here. We have a 15-minute high in a fair value gap up here. What else do we have? Yeah, so it may be, or we come down and see like a lower time frame sweep. But yeah, that's kind of the scenarios I'm looking at here. This would be really clean. Due to swing off open, 5 minute high in a fair value gap swept. Really good reaction. Break even at the lows. Maybe, can we get it? No, we can't. Yeah, so we didn't quite inverse the 1 minute there. We probably had a 2, yeah, we had a 2 minute as well, which we didn't inverse, so that's fine. This looks quite clean. So we've then put in a new high in this fair value gap, which is also some higher time frame fair value gaps. Also filled a 15 minute, like so. Also filled a 30 minute, which we're holding. There's a lot of confluences here. So we're holding a 15 minute, holding a 30 minute, holding a 5 minute, and we're also holding that time frame that the sweep is on, which is important. So I can't see anything wrong with this unless we have maybe a higher time frame. Okay, we have a 2 minute. Do we have a 2 minute? No, we don't. It's just covering it. Okay, this 1 minute looks really good. I'm going to take this. I would 100% take this in lifetime. I really like that sweep. I don't usually like where we sort of come down and then get a re-sweep of the high, but it's a lower time frame sweep, so I don't mind it. I do think it's quite clean. But if we're sweeping like an hourly high in a fair value gap, they're quite powerful. You kind of want to see, you would want to see the trade here really. You don't want to see us come back above it. But where this is a lower time frame sweep, that high is still very protected and still very high resistant. I'm not obviously going to target these hourly relative equal lows. They're too far away. What can we target? So we have a low here. We have a low here. I think I'm just maybe going to go for a 1-to-1, to be honest. We'll see how far away that is. So if we have our stop loss at the high here. Okay, we'll go for this 1.5R at the, actually, to be safe, I'm going to go for this low here, which is a 1.3R. I would expect them both to be hit, but we'll go for a 1.3R there. Break even is going to be this 1 minute low in a fair value gap, unless we have, we have a 5 minute that we're going to make in 1 minute. So I'm just going to be cautious of that. So we're either going to make a 5 minute, which I'll go break even when we tap that, or when the next candle closes, I'll just go break even then. I'll show you guys what I mean. So yeah, we'll take this 1 minute here and we'll see how this goes. So stop loss at the highs and TP at the lows there for a 1.33R, about 1.3R. So yeah, let's see how we do. So now we're going to make a 5 minute. So you guys, I think my head is covering it in the bottom corner, but it's 9:40. So we are about to make a 5 minute. So as soon as, in live time now, as soon as we break below the low that we just made, which we're obviously probably about to do, I will move my stop loss to break even. So yeah, I mean, that is break even there. Very clean. Very, very clean. Hopefully we can now push down to take profit. Bang! Oh my God, I need to start targeting some higher RR this month. Like, a lot of the time this doesn't happen, but we are flying down to all our drawn liquidities this month. This could have been seriously green. I mean, we're still up a very good amount, over 4R, and we're halfway through the month. So, wow. Wow, 100% win rate. I know we haven't finished the month yet, but still 100% win rate, half the month so far, which is insane. Yeah, we'll call it there. What a backtesting session. I hope you guys learned a lot from that. If you have any questions, stuff like that, put it in the comments and I will try and reply to you all. But yeah, really good session. I will try and do more videos like this for you guys, and I'm also going to bring out a video going in depth into the way that I trade. Obviously, this is quite in depth into how I trade, but I will just do sort of a specific model breakdown. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that, and yeah, hit that like, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.